Please, Mr. Sterling, don't make me get on the bus. They'll just hurt me again. 8-year-old Lark Whitmore's voice was barely above a whisper as she stood in the school hallway, clutching her backpack straps, her eyes downcast and rimmed with tears she was desperately trying not to shed. 33-year-old Calloway Sterling, the school's guidance counselor, knelt beside her, his heart breaking at the sight of fresh bruises on her small arms, evidence of another day of relentless bullying that the school seemed unable to stop. "Then I'll drive you home," Calloway said gently, making a decision that went beyond his job description. "Every day, if that's what it takes. You shouldn't have to be afraid just to get home safely." What Calloway didn't know was that this simple offer would change everything, not just for Lark, but for an entire school system, and for his own wounded heart, still grieving the wife he'd lost 2 years ago. Lark had arrived at Pinewood Elementary 3 months earlier, a quiet girl placed with her elderly grandparents after her parents died in a house fire. The trauma had left her withdrawn, an easy target for a group of older students who mocked her silence, her secondhand clothes, her visible grief. Teachers had been notified, but standard interventions had failed, and Lark had begun refusing to attend school altogether. As Calloway drove her home that first afternoon, Lark sat silently, staring out the window. He didn't push conversation, just played soft music and let her feel safe. When they arrived at a modest but well-kept house on Elm Street, Lark whispered a barely audible "thank you" before hurrying inside. The next day, she waited by his office door, and the day after. For a month, Calloway drove Lark home, slowly earning her trust through consistency and gentle conversation. She began talking, first about small things like her favorite colors and the stray cat that visited her backyard, then deeper truths about missing her parents, about feeling invisible, about the nightmares that made sleep impossible. "Why are you being so nice to me?" Lark asked one afternoon, her voice small but curious. "The other teachers act like I'm too much trouble, like I'm broken." Calloway pulled over, turning to face her fully. "You're not broken, Lark. You're hurt. There's a difference. Broken means unfixable. Hurt means you need time and care and people who show up for you. I lost someone too, my wife. And I know what it's like when people expect you to just get over it, to move on like grief has a schedule. You deserve better than that." Tears streamed down Lark's face. "I miss them so much. My mom used to sing to me every night. My dad used to make funny pancakes with faces. Now everything's just quiet." "Then let's make some noise," Calloway said with a gentle smile. "Tell me about your favorite song. We'll play it every day on our drive home." What Calloway didn't know, what Lark had never mentioned because she'd learned adults treated her differently when they knew, was that her grandfather, 70-year-old Whitman Whitmore, was chairman of the school district's board of directors. Whitman and his wife had taken custody quietly, refusing special treatment, wanting Lark to have as normal an experience as possible. But they'd watched their granddaughter withdraw into herself, watched the school's anti-bullying policies fail in practice, and felt increasingly helpless. Then one afternoon, Whitman came home early and saw an unfamiliar car in his driveway. Through the window, he watched a young man carefully helping Lark out, handing her forgotten lunchbox, saying something that made her smile, the first genuine smile Whitman had seen in months. "Who was that?" Whitman asked gently after the car left. "Mr. Sterling," Lark said, her face lighting up. "He's my counselor. He drives me home because the bus kids are mean. He doesn't have to, but he does it anyway. He's nice, Grandpa. Really nice." Whitman made discreet inquiries. What he learned impressed and troubled him. Calloway Sterling was beloved by students, known for going far beyond his duties, but also working in a system that didn't adequately support either counselors or vulnerable children. The bullying Lark faced was part of a larger pattern the district had failed to address. At the month's end, Calloway was called to a meeting with the school board chairman. Standard procedure, he was told, though his stomach churned with anxiety. He'd been driving Lark without explicit permission, potentially violating protocols, but he couldn't regret it when she'd finally started healing. Whitman sat behind a large desk, his expression unreadable. "Mr. Sterling, I understand you've been driving my granddaughter home from school." Calloway's heart sank. He should have known.
should have realized a child that traumatized had to have family with resources. Sir, I can explain.
You don't need to explain, Whitman interrupted, his stern expression cracking into emotion. You need to let me thank you. For the past month, I've watched Lark come back to life. She talks at dinner now. She drew a picture yesterday, first time since her parents died. She smiles. Do you understand what you've given us? Hope. When we thought we'd lost her to grief, you showed her that caring adults still exist. Calloway sat stunned. She needed help. Anyone would have. No, Whitman said firmly. Most wouldn't. Most would have filed the proper reports, followed protocols, and moved on when those protocols failed. You saw a child suffering and chose to act, even when it meant inconveniencing yourself, even when it cost you time and gas money you probably couldn't spare. That's not common. That's exceptional. What followed wasn't what Calloway expected. Whitman didn't offer money or special privileges. Instead, he asked questions about what Calloway needed to do his job effectively, what systemic failures allowed bullying to persist, what changes might actually protect vulnerable students. I've been chairman for 6 years, Whitman admitted. I thought I understood our schools. But watching my granddaughter suffer showed me how much I didn't see. You see it every day. Help me fix it. Over the following months, Calloway became an unlikely consultant to the school board, using Lark's experience, shared with her permission, to illustrate gaps in their systems. New policies emerged: mandatory bully intervention training, adequate counseling staff, transportation alternatives for vulnerable students, trauma-informed practices. But more importantly, Lark continued healing. With Calloway's support and her grandparents' love, she began speaking up, making friends, even started a kindness club at school that transformed the culture one small act at a time. A year after that first drive home, Calloway attended the school board meeting where Lark's kindness club was being recognized. She stood at the podium, small but confident now, and spoke clearly. Mr. Sterling taught me that when people are hurting, you don't wait for permission to help. You just help. He drove me home when I was scared. He listened when I was sad. He believed I could heal when I didn't believe in myself. That's what real kindness looks like.
After the ceremony, Whitman approached Calloway with tears in his eyes. You gave me my granddaughter back, but more than that, you reminded an old man that power without compassion is worthless, that the greatest impact comes from simple acts of showing up consistently for people who need us. Calloway smiled, watching Lark laugh with her new friends. She did the hard work of healing. I just drove the car. You did more than drive, Whitman said gently. You proved that one person choosing kindness can change everything. A child's life, a family's hope, an institution's priorities. Never underestimate the power of showing up. Because kindness doesn't require authority or resources, just the willingness to see someone suffering and choose to act, even when it's inconvenient, even when protocols say otherwise, even when the impact seems small. Sometimes the most profound changes begin with one person driving a frightened child home, choosing presence over policy, proving through consistent care that they matter, they're seen, they're worth the detour. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.